Okay, welcome everybody. That is 22 minutes of technical difficulties. All right, but we're back at it. I'm persistent, and here we are. So, welcome to my Monday Musings. This is Justin Harris. It's me. Hello. If you don't know me, a lot of you may be new here. Matt tagged me on his London post, so I've gotten a bunch of new followers. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I've coached a lot of different things. Started in track and field, distance running, speed and power, bobsled skeleton, weightlifting, ball sports, a little dabble in soccer, cycling, triathlon, multi-day ultras, like all kinds of different shit. So from beginners to Olympians, let's rock and roll. All right. I'm not trying to go too fast here. I know it's late. I've had a long day. Corinna kicked my ass on the golf course with her husband today. Thanks for inviting me. What's up? All right. I don't recommend playing with Division One golfers for your first time out on the greens. Okay, cool. All right, got the color right. So, what I want to talk about today is cycling. All right. So, if you're a runner, do not sign off here because I'm going to get into why runners should look towards cycling and triathlon specifically for performance enhancement. So let's get into it. Lately, I've been known as like kind of the marathon guy, runner guy, and this became really apparent to me the other week. I was riding with an athlete that I coach from Alaska who's a cyclist, and we were riding around Central Park. He was in town for work, brought his bike before a big race, and he's a quiet guy. And I asked him, I said, "You curious about anything? Like, we're riding for 2 hours. Like, ask anything you want, right?" And he's like, "So, do you mostly coach runners? And why do you coach cyclists?" And I'm paraphrasing because I had raced the previous night and it was cold and wet, and maybe I didn't hear it correctly. But I talked about just kind of being a polymath of coaching, right? I really wanted to be able to support and coach anyone who comes in front of me, right? Whether the beginner, experienced athlete, triathlete, swimming, whatever, I've kind of done it all. Not saying I'm the best at everything, but I give it a real honest go. And I've gotten a lot of results in a lot of different things. So cool, right? A little pat on the back. We need to do that every now and then. So yes, I mostly coach marathoners, but I really enjoy cycling myself. I haven't really been running that much lately. I've done it for so many years in cycling. There's categories in cycling. So anyway, let's get into cycling. All right. So I'm going to talk about like types, kind of what riding does to help us, and some challenges that we can do for within cycling. So the types of riding is indoor cycling. That's one of them. And I think a lot of people in this realm understand that. So whether you're on Peloton or Zwift, on your Wahoo kicker, your tax trainer, or whatever, maybe you're on Ruby, maybe you're on full gas, whatever it is. Zwift just bought Ruby, should be interesting. There's stuff happening indoor, which is awesome. And for my marathoners and my runners, we all do one day of cycling. Like I do it with a lot of people. Now, some of my pure runners get sick of it, but I think it's how I get a lot of results. All right. The other way to do it is outdoor. And this presents certain challenges, and I'll get into those. But outdoor, you have hybrids. So like riding on flat rail trail, stuff like that. You have mountain biking, getting off road where there are no cars and you don't have to worry about it. We have e-bikes. Now, I managed a bike shop off and on for many years. I've been associated with a bike shop. I love bikes. Like that is truly my passion. I enjoy running. I love cycling. And e-bikes have come in and people are like, oh, it's cheating or whatever. But whatever gets people riding, I think is the most important thing. And I'm going to tell you, this objection that e-bikes are easy, the most gassed I've ever been has been on an e-mountain bike. Like the amount of fun that you have, You just put full turbo, you're ripping up hills, ripping down. I mean, I was gassed, more than like a road race sometimes. And so it's all what you bring to the table, right? But if it's an accessibility thing, like um, if one person's stronger and the other, someone's partner is not, and it's not just male female, they can ride the e-bike and keep up with their partner. I've seen that. Going to the Alps and being able to ride up and down the Alps with an e-bike, I've seen that. So a lot of cool stuff there. Then the things that are um, other ways of, like types of riding is like road bike and gravel bike. So think of a gravel bike as like really like a road bike, but like fatter tires, a little bit more tread, and you're searching for like dirt roads. Essentially, that's gravel. Okay, I used to do that on my road bike with like really skinny tires, but apparently we need bigger bikes, which I love. It's okay, right? So you have a lot of different ways to get into it. Now, outdoor presents some challenges. Bikes aren't cheap. Bike handling skills, stuff like that. Like I grew up in BMX, dirt jumping, 20-foot gaps, doubles, like BMX racing, flying down mountains, racing four cross and BMX, like all kinds of stuff. Like I have videos of me jumping jumps that are taller than me. All right. So bike handling skills come into play and crashes do happen. So it's part of the game. And it can be a little bit scary, but finding good friends and people to ride with, I think is really important. And so why am I talking about riding? Well, I went to this AI conference and I sat next to someone who I ended up knowing, ironically. It was kind of funny, Debbie. And she was like, "Oh, I see your Monday, like your different stuff, whatever. Like, but you mostly talk about running." And I was like, "Yeah, I should talk about cycling." So, Debbie, this is for you. All right. So, why is running good? Or excuse me, why is cycling beneficial? And cycling is beneficial like for runners, cyclists, triathletes, like all across the board, right? And so one of the biggest things is when I'm talking about training, I'm talking about like three pillars of training variables that we're messing around with, right? And that's musculoskeletal load, that is metabolic load, and that is mental load. I like my acronyms are my alliterations here, keeping things with ends. All right. So musculoskeletal load, running is really tough. And when I was, racing triathlon and trying to become a pro, like a lot of my friends I was in my 20s, like they were in their 40s and 50s. And so, seeing them age and whatnot, and I would say, they look great, but they can't do the things they really enjoyed because, running does pound the body. All right. And so, just kind of keeping that in mind, like I always enjoyed cycling and I just didn't want to get there, right? So cycling reduces musculoskeletal load. That's like one of the biggest things, like musculoskeletal load relief, right? So we can coast down hills, all right, but we still can get a really big metabolic load. We're also strengthening legs, like all these like beneficial things. I say I can enjoy downhills now, and that's like one of my favorite things is to rip down hills. But it's also like a cognitive challenge. All right. And to like have this cognitive challenge of like, okay, like you're getting really good at running or you're really enjoying it, you feel like you got to figure out, like go to cycling and it's going to like change the game a little bit. For instance, if you go on effort and running, it's like your arms, it's a whole body thing. On the bike, it's really just the legs. So your heart rate will be a little bit lower, but your legs will be screaming. And that's a whole different challenge to get into. And I think it really benefits runners over the long run. Now, I'm biased. I rode my bike in the summers a lot to train for cross country, but I would get injured a lot. And so I would use the bike as like really good cross training or like preventative to like not have as much pounding. And I ran quite fast in college. Uh, I wasn't one of the top guys in Division One, but 14:42, sub 15 5K, I think is legit. 8:35 for 3K. I was able to do some cool things. Junior national qualifier in the 10K. So all these kind of like add up to being like really good for longevity. All right. And I know that's like a kind of faux pas word, phrase, and everyone's doing it. And now AI is going to figure out a million things. I hope so. Right. But it's not just like lifespan, it's really health span. And so how can you be healthy through later life as an endurance athlete? I think mixing up and not doing marathon after marathon after marathon after marathon after marathon after marathon after marathon, like you need to spread the love a little bit and develop some other qualities. So I think cycling is a fantastic avenue to look at and do. Now, bikes aren't cheap and whatnot, but you can focus on some different challenges with the bike. Okay. And so some different challenges you can do. And I'm going to say outdoor stuff because like there's so much shit out there for indoor. And I think it's all like very accessible, but the outdoor stuff is really challenging. And I've taught people how to ride on the roads. I've taught people how to ride in a group, um, both in person and remotely, and really encouraging people to get out there and do some rides and stuff. So as I'm talking here, if you're not on my newsletter, please sign up. It's twice a month, 5-minute read. It's free, and I talk about the art of training. So if you haven't done yet, go to jharriscoaching.fit, and you'll see the sign up there. Okay, so some of the challenges that you can do outside is like everyone thinks like, well, I don't want to race. It's like crazy. These like Tour de France style stuff. Like that is it is the most extreme thing you can do, but there's a lot of other things you can do there. And some of those things I would say are like first of all, like you can sign up for like a Grand Fondo or charity ride, like the Bike New York, just the 5 borough bike ride just happened. Like that's a fantastic thing. To me, that's chaos, tons of people, and some of you on here might have done it. I think I saw Callan on here. Um, and it's a good goal to have, right? It's not a race, it's not super fast, but there's a lot of people. So other things you can do, you can sign up for charity rides, you can sign up for Grand Fondos, and that's something that Team Lopers does. And I think we have one on June 7th that we're trying to attend and whatnot. So Grand Fondo and charity rides, like I would say that like the front fifth or quarter is like starting off like trying to race or like go a strong pace. I would say the second quarter, they started off fast and then they're fading. I say the third quarter is like, hey, I'm not getting in with the fast peoples. And they go along. They're stopping at the aid stations a little bit more, and then you have your back that just want to finish the distance. And so I think it's a great atmosphere to like try a challenge, especially on like country roads and stuff like that. And then the next thing is like from there are like bike touring or guided trips. So I have a client that she trains all year long to do these like truck travel trips in Europe, Slovenia, the Alps, going to Tuscany. It's done like Girona on gravel, like all kinds of things. So it's guided, it's supported. You can always get in the van if you can't make it up. There's food provided, and we go in like it's kind of like a race. Like that's our big challenge for the year, and it's amazing to see this athlete's confidence grow over time by achieving some of these like big climbs and big things that she didn't think she can do. So I think it's awesome there. The other thing to do is like group rides. And this is where we get into like scary. All right. And so really going with someone who knows how to ride in a group and who is approachable, I think is very important. It's not always common. Road cyclists tend to be a little bit more pretentious of the bunch. I have my tendencies with certain things, but for beginners, I really want to teach. And I'm the one kind of barking at people and saying, hey, do you want unsolicited feedback or are you open to some coaching? Because how people ride in a group really affect other people, and people can get into crashes and stuff. And I did a group ride a couple hours ago, and there was a couple situations where like it got a little hairy. And because people like follow the rules, like no one went down. I think it's really important. But group rides are a great opportunity to push yourself a little bit and to also be social, which I think it's really about. It's easy to kind of like go find a place and ride by yourself, but the most beautiful thing is to ride with someone. And you would be amazed at how far you can go on a bike. Like I'm still dumbfounded when I'm like, oh, see those mountains over there, to my wife. Like I rode from all the way back home, and we've been driving for a half an hour fast, and then see this big, like, yeah, it took me like 6 hours to do that. And she's like, you're fucking insane. So it's cool. And then you can do races, which again, as of like a runner, you're probably not going to get to, but you can certainly strive to it. And I think it's fantastic. You can take my challenge and prove me wrong. But so cycling, at the end of the day, cycling is like one of these things that I think that, particularly as a runner, but even as a triathlete, like people focus on their strength and biking, you're out there for the longest period of time. And so bringing the bike into the game is really important. And having, a coach that kind of understands these things, I think is important. I'm not trying to talk my book here. There's other coaches that do it and they're fantastic. But really, if you're a runner, marathoner, try to bring cycling in. And I would say look at triathlons because once you get done with chasing all the majors and your body's all beat up, you should be looking at triathlon now and start learning how to swim while you're still doing marathons so you can enjoy chasing triathlons, into your 50s and 60s. I mean, honestly, because you only need to run a little bit. Your body's going to remember it. It's going to start getting beat down. And you heard it here first. Bring triathlon into your life, which means start introducing yourself to outdoor cycling. And it's not about swimming. I'll talk about swimming another time, but get some swimming in, all right, over time. And if you look at it as like a 5-year, 10-year approach, you're going to be in an awesome, amazing place when you get older because you have slowly been looking at this and you heard it here first. The seed has been planted. All right. So cycling, love it. Love, love, love it. All right. You should do more of it. All right. And for those of you here, I'm curious about what riding you do, how you incorporate riding in. And I got a good bunch of people here. What's up? What's up, Karina? What's up, Joanne? Your Canadians won. What's up, Meg? What's up, Slim? Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I did have a blast, although I was curmudgeon for a little bit, just knocking the ball. I could not. I've never experienced rough this rough, and I know that wasn't even that bad. But what's up, Roberto? Mr. Almost PRing. What's up, Pierce? Monster on the gravel bike. What's up, Josh? He gets biking. I know him. I see him out on his tri bike. What's up, Neil? What's up, Kelly? Kelly's riding, training for a triathlon, 70.3. Callan, wifey. What's up, Claudia? What's up, Norris? Hi, Carly. Callan, Five Borough is definitely different, but it was pretty fun. Yeah. It's just different. Like you got to look at everything different. What's up, Alicia? Why is things not riding up? Okay. Third woman overall at the local tri this weekend was 72 years old. Yeah, that's fucking badass. Carly got second overall in the super sprint. Runs a half marathon in Italy. A couple weeks later, rips a sprint on her new Cervelo. So pretty. You should check it out. It's like orange. Claudia, the training for a tri is so much kinder on the body. Yeah. Again, when we're talking about musculoskeletal load, hands down, I think triathlon is the best sport to be in. It's not cheap, equipment, all that stuff. But if you just like chip away at it, and the bike is the biggest purchase. And for purchasing a bike, you really should talk to someone and know. A lot of people want to go cheap, and it's like you'll be buying a new bike in a couple years, just because you've kind of like exceeded that. And especially if you're a runner, like the fitness, you understand stuff like you got to spend some dough on it. But it's not like a pair of running shoes. This a bike's going to last you 10, 15 years, especially if you take care of it. So Pierce, trainer in the winter, MTB and road when it warms up. Yeah, that's like the ultimate combo, right? It's like a mountain bike, gravel bike for shoulder season, depending on where you live, trainer in the winter or Peloton. And then when it's nice out, like now, it's like road and gravel. It's like beautiful. Sorry, we were at the hockey game in Tampa last night. Yeah, I know. You don't want to start this. Oh, man, we're talking trash on hockey. I love it. Yeah. So, yeah. And like, the bike is there for when we get injuries. Like that's how I got it first. The sophomore year of high school, I was like getting injured, and I asked my dad, like, I was big into mountain bike and stuff, but like, can we buy a road bike? Happened to be the 1999, the year Lance first won the Tour, and I was like, had the road bike. Start watching the Tour de France, trying to figure what the heck they were doing. I didn't understand, and I learned it, and I rode, and I would just get lost and do these big loops, and it's a beautiful thing. So like, as a runner or swimmer, like we can kind of come to different things with it. Fit is really important. Yeah, it wasn't the best game. Hi, Mom. My mother is here. Hi, Mommy. Kelly. I'm having you build my next bike. Yes, we will talk about that, Kelly. It's really best to like buy a full bike that is like 95% of the way there and you can tweak it out. But I love helping people get bikes. Like it's my favorite thing. I do walk people like I'm a little conservative, like, hey, this is really expensive, but the shit is worth it. So I actually just sold one of my bikes to a friend. Actually, I've sold 2 bikes to friends. And I'm like, look, this bike is way more expensive. I didn't pay that much for it. I'll give you a good deal on it. And they're like, oh, it's a little out of my bike's price. I'm like, yeah, but you're getting like a $10,000 bike for like $3,000 or $6,000. Like you should just do it. But like to upgrade to electronic is very nice. And it's getting to the point where like it's a clear difference. So anyway, I got a little dry rosé from Cuca Springs in the Finger Lakes. I'm thinking about doing a running camp or a cycling camp actually up in the Finger Lakes. It's not more of a cycling. It's not an easy place to ride. So it'd be a little bit more like intermediate, but I want to ride and then go hit up some wineries and stuff like that. And I have some former clients up there that have a little real setup. Oh, how many bikes do you have? Someone asked me this before. I've downsized recently, but I always have a mountain bike, a road race bike, a gravel bike, so it looks like a road bike with fatter tires. I have a fixed gear bike, like a track bike, for when I go into the city and I don't mind locking it up and no one's going to take it, hopefully. I have a cyclocross bike, which is a little different, like kind of a gravel bike. It's a limited edition one. Then I have 2 frames and kind of like half built bikes. Yeah. Yes, Kelly. N+1. So we are now at the point with my wife. When I first met my wife, like cycling is my identity more than anything. Like it makes me feel the most like me. So in the Northeast, I really, ever since I was like 12 years old, realizing it, I've little, not struggle bus in the winter, but I don't feel quite like myself because I like exploring. I like getting lost. It's like where I do my thinking. I like pushing my body. I love flying down hills. I like picking good routes, all this stuff. Um, the frames are for sale. No, they're not. Don't listen to this lady. But we're at the point, I remember telling her, so 2 things. I remember telling her, I'm like, on our first date, I was like, look, I ride, I do endurance sports. You don't need to do it, but do not get between me and my bike. Like I will choose my bike every time. And she hasn't, not even close. She wouldn't do that. But I also said it's an expensive hobby. And so I think we're at the point where we're 1 in, 1 out on bikes and vacuums or kitchen appliances. So my wifey's racking them up, but they are not for sale. My bikes are not for sale, people. Pierce, what were your thoughts on bike fit? Is it unsafe to push it without proper fit? So, Pierce, this is a great question. I think the real answer is like, fit absolutely matters 100%. And so do you need like a $300 fit where they like go over everything? No, like you can get a bike, you can get pretty close and go out there and rock and roll like you just did with your new bike. And then you jumped on someone else's bike for like a 90-mile hard ride. And so I'm curious, Pierce, if like things are really hurting back, neck, and so when I get a new bike, it's like trying to get my measurements, and my gravel bike that I just sold to a friend of mine, which I didn't want to do, but I wanted to help the guy out. I felt like I just got my measurements like where I wanted them to be. And so sometimes it takes a little bit, but fit is definitely very important. There's some AI stuff that gets you close. I hear the in-person stuff is where they go when they do a plumb bob and stuff like that. So Claudia, do not encourage this lady, my wife, on bikes. Justin's going to have 0 bikes soon. What's up, Heather? To be fair, they're more expensive hobbies. Yeah, like race cars. Yeah. So we have a Miata, and I'm like, can we like put twin turbo in it, or can we get a newer one? So It's pretty funny. What's up, Tryron? Yeah, that's like my friends. What's up, Nick? Nicole. So is it Nicole? What's up, Justin? Uh, so I was talking about bringing cycling into your training, whether you're a runner or not. Cycling is really important for longevity. And this is why you see, like, you don't see a lot of like 60, 70-year-old runners out there, but you will see a lot more cyclists. And most of them are ex-runners. So I think just sprinkle it in so you can like enjoy everything out there. But I remember being 16, like 15, 16, like getting our driver's license. All my friends, like we rode BMX bikes everywhere. Like I'd ride like 20, 30 miles a day. Like we would go from neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood to in town and all over the place. And I wish kids could do that today. I know it's a little bit different, but we had a lot of fun. A little bit of trouble, but mostly fun. But we were like, we're not like getting into cars because we love bikes, and I think I'm the only one who still rides a bike out of like 4 or 5 friends. They got in the cars, girls like cars and all this stuff, and whatever, they were chasing them, but I'm like, no, I'm riding my bike and running. So yeah, too funny. But to me, it was just like, you just spend so much more money on a car. But not saying how much my fleet costs, but it's not too cheap. So I'm curious if you have questions on cycling, if or anything. This is Q&A time. I'm going to just stay on here for 10 minutes. So ask away while you have me. If you're new here, I see some new names. My name's Justin. These are my Monday musings. I get on every Monday, somewhere between 8:30, 8 and 9 o'clock. Talk about a topic, and then we get into free flow Q&A. I always have a little adult bevy. All right, just a little one. Some white wines is my jam. Give me less headaches. Although I learned that my Pinot Noirs from Washington and Oregon have a little bit more acidity, and that's what's giving me a headache. And so I had some Pinot Noir from Sonoma, and I had no headache. It's great. So curious what questions people have. If you're new here, do not be shy. Ask me anything. You can ask questions about me, my training, my coaching, thoughts I have on coaching. We're talking about cycling now, but you can ask questions about triathlon, marathoning. Who's my most pain in the ass client? No, I'm kidding. Things I struggle with, things I enjoy. But we're in spring, man. Events are coming fast and furious. I'm actually excited to be racing this year. I'm starting to feel more like myself, not a harsh winter. So, are you guys all getting ready for bed? All right, Pierce. What is the determining factor that got you into coaching, and what do you enjoy most about it? What's up, Adam? I would say probably my dad. My dad was always my coach with stuff, and I just love sport and I love competition. And so I remember wanting to be involved in it in some way. And then I had a really good high school coach, and he tried to teach us, but we didn't really listen until like my senior year. And then my college coach was really informative for me. And my parents like were really pushing me to be a teacher, and I thought I'd be good at it. But I would really say like my dad and my high school coach were like precursors, but my college coach gave me a book on Jack Daniels, like how to run and different stuff. And I just like, I fucking was so passionate about it, like learning how the body worked and how people work and how do you get performance and all that stuff. So I think like somewhere in college, I was like, if I'm kind of being a teacher to coach. And so the determining factor was just like loving sport. And it continues to this day. It's something I would like to do for a very long time. I've had a few hiccups where I thought I was done with it and I don't want to do it anymore. Um, but I feel like I'm being rewarded by sticking with it. The joy I have doing it, and not every day is easy. And there's some challenging moments, but yeah, the determining factor was just I'm so curious at how performance works and health. Like those two, it's just like a dichotomy in a sense. It's so variant, like various ways to look about it. It could be yin and yang, it could be binary, it could be holistic. Like it's just so awesome. But that determining factor is probably my pops, and then having some influential men in my life who really guided me uh, loosely and gave me some reign to really have a say and a voice. And I think that was super important. So I really try to do it with my clients. I can't say I'm always like, hey, yeah, do whatever you want. That was the leash I got in college, and it was helpful. But yeah, Callan, is it worth upgrading from mechanical to electronic shifting? Yes, yes, hands down. It's crisper. You can shift under tension. It's smooth. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but for me, it's just like it's made the ride significantly better. At first, I don't think I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" Like, but when you start really, getting out there a little bit more on it, and it's just like I've gone back, and I'm like, yeah, it's like it's quite annoying. So I don't know that I would, you know, upgrade your current bike. And I'm not saying about your bike, Callan, but like if it's a little bit outdated, sometimes it's just better like to get like a whole new bike. And I know that's a big expense, but you can sell yours and get a little bit on it. But yeah, electronic shifting's worth it for me. What run would you replace with a ride in a marathon build? Um, who's this? Nicole? I can't see. Um, or Nick. Ole. I don't know. I can click on your name, but I can't see too much. So the ride I replace in a marathon build is like the recovery run off the long run. So instead of doing a recovery run when the legs are all beat up, we do a ride. So 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but generally 30 to 45, somewhere in that range. I actually do some high cadence work to like flush things out. And so that's the number one ride I do to replace, because you've incurred the most musculoskeletal load throughout the week and the previous day on the long run. And so then I do my long runs on Saturday. And so Sunday is like 30 to 45 minutes. So that's like the lowest hanging fruit, best bang for the buck. Now, your mileage will be down. And so you have to know that you're getting your mileage in 5 or 6 days, depending if you take a day off, and you should take a day off. So your mileage should be in 5. And I talked about this last week a little bit. So that's the run that I would replace hands down with it. And I've been able to keep a lot of my clients on the healthier side. One, like less hiccups happening. The severity of the hiccups that happen in marathon, they always happen. Getting to the line, like not banged up and ready to rock and roll. And it's not just the ride, it's some other things, but that's a big part of it. And then, so going in saying, like, some newer clients feeling like I've never felt as good going in, like feel great during the race, and then not as beat up afterwards. I used the bike a lot in the 2 weeks post race super boost. So that's the one I would replace it with. And then the last thing I would say is if you're banged up, like shift to the bike for the intense stuff. So the next place I go is like if someone's feeling banged up, like I'll use like really banged up and we got a little injury, like I'll do the VO2 max on the bike. So just switch modalities, because that's the most intense thing. And like we don't really need a ton of it. And so that's another place. So there's a lot of things. All right, Justin, for a marathon runner, how do you think about rep ranges on strength training? Yeah, I've coached quite a bit of strength for endurance athletes. I don't do it a ton with my clients because we have strength coaching and different stuff. But essentially, I mean, you need low rep, high weight stuff. It's just like, when are you doing it? So I like to lift on VO2 max days. And so that's where you can do lower body. And so rep range is like 6 to 8. I think it's a safe place. You can load them up pretty good. But if you're sore and it's affecting your running for